What's up, everyone? Or, I don't even know. The last time I checked, it was like 106 of y'all. I don't know what the number is now, but it is what it is. But yeah, this video is going to be more or less answering all the questions that I have received over the past, like, week and a half. Yeah, like about week and a half. I pretty much summed them all up, at least some of them, and some of them I just got rid of just because they're just the same question but just worded differently. So me personally, I wasn't actually going to be doing any of basically repeating myself over and over and over and over and over again. So, there's that. I know some people would. I'm just not. It's just a pain in the ass, I feel like. But that's just me. But what do we got? Yeah, let's get into it, I guess. What? Some of these I've already answered, but it's only been like a couple. I want to say like it's only been two. Well, one question I've answered fully, and the second one was just like iffy. But the first question was, what app do I use to write? Because as some of y'all know, if you've been in my live for either Twitch, YouTube, or TikTok, I write, well, at least I type a bunch. I feel like you could see that from the shorts, from the descriptions, and from one of the videos that I have up. Or well, not even one of the videos I have up, but one of the shorts that I have. It's a very long, what you call it? It is I feel that and it shows. If you go to that one and you go to the comments, it's basically me typing and whatnot. But basically, to answer that question, it's more, I use the Notes app on my phone. I use the Notes app, and I also use a Word document, or Word, basically. I've also been using, recently, I've been using an app that's a part of Apple that's called Pages. More or less to kind of see how many, like, words I've typed. Just because over, 6 months? Over the 6 months, I've written a whole bunch. And I've gotten to the point now where, like, I want to see how much I actually have typed. Before, I had figured out it was 66,000, it was like 66,000 words or something. Or either it was words or it was characters. I don't remember. I have to redo it just to see. But it was 66,000. I want to say it was like 27, 28 paragraphs. Which you would think isn't that many, but when you actually look at the length for all of them, it's a lot. It's a lot of reading. And I have a second TikTok that you'll just have to fucking get lucky and find, if I'm being genuinely honest. That's just me, that's just literally me typing. Basically whatever the post is me typing, kind of typing that out and everything. So, but yeah, those are the three that I use: Pages, Notes, and Word. Also, some of these I'm gonna get sidetracked. I'm gonna get sidetracked right now, then we'll come back. But I was going to be making these. I was supposed to make these literally like last Friday, or something like last Friday or Saturday or sometime like last week. But I got information Saturday about something, or at least not something, but something clicked in my head. So I don't really have anything really confirmed on what it is or is not. If I'm being honest, it's more or less just speculation, or at least not really speculation, but it's more overthinking and probably looking too much into it, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so some of these are, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird whole. It's basically a weird thing. But I'll summarize it real quick. But well, basically, last week a story was sent out, and it mentioned how um, their relationship was close to a year or something like that, or like it was coming soon, or it was coming up, or it was soon, something like that. I don't know. But it's the fact that we didn't officially break up until the end of December. So it's the fact that it doesn't really make sense in that regard, because if that's the case, then that means that she was cheating on me the entire time until that point. But at the same time, that doesn't make sense because she's not one to do that. At least I want to believe she's not, if I'm being honest. Just because the amount of times that she's preached at me about cheating and all that jazz, I could probably write a book about it, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's more or less just that. It's more or less just kind of thinking of two different scenarios that is going on. At least I think. Both are equally bad. I've talked about this before. I forget which day I talked about it, but I remember talking about it at some point. I just couldn't tell you when. I want to say it was like maybe like Saturday, or probably actually no, probably Friday. I don't know. It was sometime over the weekend. So that's all I basically know about that. But basically, both are bad. Obviously, one is obviously worse than the other one. So, but it's more or less thinking of a situation that happened before is happening again, but that doesn't make sense because she always knew that if she like genuinely like needed me for something, like if she genuinely needed me, like because this was happening or this was happening or this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be, she knew that all she had to do was message me or call me or anything, and I'd be down there that either that day or that night or whenever the fuck she told me. I would be there in literally just a few hours. So that's the one thing. And then the second thing is basically she just cheated the entire time until the end of what you call it. But it's the fact that that doesn't make sense because of what I just said with that not making any sense. Because the first one has a bunch of things about it that, like a bunch of questions I had in the beginning. But the first option answers a bunch of those questions. It definitely adds it definitely adds more questions to it, but it answers also a bunch of questions as well. The second one, that shit just adds a bunch of questions. That's about it. Genuinely, that doesn't really answer anything. It answers, I'll be real, it answers some, I guess. It answers probably like 2 or 3 at best. 2 or 3 at best. But it doesn't answer a lot compared to the first one. The first one answers more questions, but also adds some questions. The second one answers a couple questions, but adds more questions. So, both of them are equally bad, but obviously one is definitely worse than the other one. But also, one makes more sense than the other one, just based off of her character and whatnot. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's a strange thing. It's very interesting. It's interesting to see. I will say it's interesting to see her act differently, which I feel like is odd in a sense. But who knows? Some people just act differently with, different people. Strange, but still odd. But at the end of all this, I'm going to, because I already told one person this, but I might as well have a whole, I might as well just get it out there, basically. I don't really care what the repercussions are going to be, if I'm being honest. If she messages me screaming at me or doing this, doing that, I generally don't care, just because I'm not going to apologize or anything like that on something that I genuinely feel, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I'll get to that later on. That'll be at the very end of this, most likely. But second question, we're getting back to the questions. But the second question is, how can a person like you, who went through all of that, still care about her and want nothing but the best for her? Do you not hate her? There was also a whole thing with, there was a lot more questions. I want to say there was only there's only 6 questions. When I was getting the questions, like all last week and a half, there were a lot of questions that had to do with me hating her for some reason. So I kind of found one that kind of added that kind of on the side and kept it, but erased all the other ones. So, which is a very strange thing. I don't know why many people think that. I guess I don't know. That could just be me. I don't really necessarily know, but it is what it is. But to answer that question, I don't really know. Like, I believe I got to a point where it was either lose her forever or just watch her from a distance, or like love and care for her from a distance. I guess, maybe not guess, but just like that's kind of the headspace that I kind of got into. Just because in the beginning I was trying to get her back in any way that I could think of, which even I don't even understand why I did half of the things I even said. But it's just because it's just simply because there are so many questions that weren't answered, or so many things that just didn't make sense, and stuff that was said that just didn't make any sense at all. But it got to the point where it was more or less it was when I had not my first, but it was my I want to say it was my third panic attack that I had, and that's when I kind of thought about like that, of like those two options, or not even two options, the two choices, which was basically just what I had said, which was either I can lose her forever, or I can just choose to just watch her from a distance and just kind of help wherever I can, because that's what I did before with her relationship and whatnot, which is crazy to say. It sucks to say, but I want to say I've talked about that before already. Probably, I don't know, but yeah, it's something I have done. As crazy as it sounds, and I'm sure not many people would generally do that, obviously. Because there's two different people. There's people that would say, "Oh, you didn't love her enough because you actually helped her," which to me that doesn't that generally doesn't make any sense. But I'm sure people would generally say it. And then you have the people that are the complete opposite of that. That basically know that I want her happiness more than my own. Even if, as long as she's happy, it's whatever. Like, it's, as long as she's happy, I don't care. Even if it's not with me, I don't care. But yeah, I think for this entire time, I don't know. I feel like you hate your ex if you do something shitty, and then you blame them for it. I think that's why you would hate somebody, or at least hate someone that you were in a relationship with. I believe. At least that's simply me, in my opinion, obviously. So obviously, if you don't think the same, don't come at me in the comments. That's just my opinion. Generally, that's just my opinion. But it's the fact that, I don't know, I knew I was the one that fucked up in the beginning, in the middle of our relationship, and basically picked everything up towards the end. But at that point, she was already basically checked out. So, and at that point, there was no one to blame. Like, the only person to blame was me. Because just looking back on everything I did, just looking back on everything that I did and remembering remembering her voice when she'd explain this or that, or she would talk about this, or talk about how she felt, or talk about how this made her feel, or this, that, the pleads, not the apologies, I mean the pleads, the wanting me to stop and all that jazz. It's something that I just still think about, obviously. But it's the fact that just that's kind of when I took accountability of that. I kind of took accountability that I was pretty much the issue. I'm not gonna say that, I'm gonna say it's. Obviously, I'm not gonna say it was. Obviously, I'm not blaming. I'm not playing the blame game. Obviously, we both could have did things differently, of course. Like, more or less, communication was a big thing that we both didn't. Communication was a big thing that we both didn't really. I'm not gonna say understood, but it was something we didn't really do, because we always took it as we always took it as an attack, I guess. I love saying I guess, I don't know why. But we always took it as an attack, on us. We never actually heard each other. We would listen to what each other said, but we weren't actually hearing the words that were being said. We more or less just heard, oh, this is this, you're saying this about me, and that's it. There's an example, because I can't really say examples that she would have for me, just because obviously that would be for her, obviously. But one example comes to mind of not hearing what I have to say, and not actually not hearing what I say, not hearing me, not hearing what I'm saying. Because I want to say, at some point I don't even remember what the hell we were even arguing about. Genuinely, we were arguing about something, because obviously, of course we were. But I had told her that she's acting like her mom, because in that Because in that moment, keep in mind, I never said that she was her mom. I never said that she was going to be just like her mom. I said that she was, at this very moment, I had said that she's acting like her mom. Because on what we were arguing about, it was the fact that she, like, it was the fact that she wanted it, I forget what it was, but I just remember she wanted it her way. I don't know what it was, but it's the fact that she wanted it her way, and I wasn't giving her that. So it's the fact that she just was like, okay, then fucking, if it's not my way, then it's not nobody's way. And it's the fact that that's exactly what her mom does. But like, that's the example that I'm like saying, is because when I had said that, she didn't let me continue speaking. She literally, I don't even remember, what did she say? I think she said, like, I crossed the line or something, and then hung up, and then proceeded to block me on almost everything, until I actually messaged her and had her, and actually calmed her down so then I could actually talk and actually explain, like, what I genuinely mean. Because knowing me, my tone is very sarcastic, obviously. Like, I have a very natural, like, sarcastic tone when I talk. I don't usually try to usually when I talk. Usually when I talk about something, it comes off a certain way, even though I don't intend on it to. It's happened a lot. It still happens to this day, where I'll say something and people will take offense, and it's just like, I was just saying it. What the heck? I'm very simple. Like, if I'm trying to be, like, I guess in a way disrespectful or some sort of way, like, you'll definitely know, because my tone will change. But if my tone is like how it is right now, like, I'm chilling, like, it's whatever. But yeah, it's more or less an example of that, of like us not really hearing each other. At least my example for it. But yeah, there was a lot that we could have definitely there's a lot we could have definitely done. Fucking what you call it is definitely a big one though. Communication was definitely a big one. But it's funny because I don't think I could genuinely hate her, if I'm being honest. Because like, even now, I don't hate her. I hate myself more than I hate her. Like, and obviously I shouldn't feel that way, or I shouldn't do that, or so on and so forth. But it's the fact that it's true. Like I was majority of the issue. It just sucks not having the opportunity to at least have a conversation, just because, like, even if nothing would have changed, we would have still had that conversation, and it would have been good for the both of us. Like, it would have helped, something, but yeah, I generally don't know. I'm sure I'm capable of hating her, but I don't know. There has to be something. He has to do something that I just can't get behind, or don't understand, or she says something about me, and yeah, it's something like, it's the fact that she has to be the complete opposite of how I think. Like, not even how I think, how I know she is. Like, she's not someone that generally goes out of her way to, like, hurt you. And it's the fact that unless you come for her, then she'll come for you. But it's the fact that I haven't done anything for her to come after me. Because like, and it just shows that I'm telling the truth for all of these. Like, all the videos I've ever posted and everything is proof that I'm telling the truth, because she hasn't messaged me telling me that I'm lying about this or that. But at the same time, she could just straight up not fucking watch these, so that's also another reason. But I don't know. She did mention that she was subscribed, so, and I just never asked. It didn't click in my head to ask her if she actually watches these at all. She just said that she was subscribed and then showed me. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I was more or less starstruck from there. Just like, oh, okay, cool. What? But yeah. So far, she hasn't messaged me about anything. So I must be doing fine, you know? But yeah, it's just, and like what I went through wasn't as bad, simply because something I've realized is there's always something, there's always worse. There is. Like, you can say that you're going, like, at the time you're going through the worst in that moment, but it's the fact of it could always be worse. How? It's one of those things that I just don't want to think about, because I don't generally know how. It's more or less you kind of find out in the moment, or more or less the aftermath of it usually. But it's one of those things where it's like you just kind of just realize that, yeah, there's someone that's probably going through the same thing, but it's 10 times worse than what you're going through. Like, could it have been better? Yes. Could it have been worse? Also yes. But yeah, just naturally, like, I still care and want her to do good things, do great things and everything. But that's just simply because that's who I am as a person. Generally, it's who I am. It's just who I am. Like, I went years trying to be something I wasn't. But in reality, I'm, a caring person. Like, I'm not confident to say, but it's the fact that I've been scammed for money so many times just simply because they had a genuinely, like, moving, like, story, or basically they had a moving lie that they told me, just because, like, that's deep down, that's who I am. Obviously there's two sides to that, obviously, but I'm not 100% a caring person. If you do cross the line, then there are repercussions to that, obviously. But if you're just chilling, minding your own business, not even minding your own business, but just kind of not fucking trying to do some sketchy shit to me or anyone that I genuinely care about, then you're good. You're good. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just naturally a caring person, and I could never hate her just because there's nothing to blame her on. Or there's nothing that's just like, oh, she was the reason for this, that, and the other. Like, I was fully to blame for separation. Could we have fixed it? I don't know. I have no clue. And it's not because, like, and it's not for any particular reason on why I say I don't know. It's more or less just because it didn't happen. Like, we didn't have a conversation. We didn't have this. It was just, I'm gone, and that's it. So it's the fact that saying yes, saying yay or nay means nothing when it didn't even happen. It's just 50-50. Because could it have helped or changed something? Yes. It also couldn't have. We'll never know because it never happened. Sure, at some point it will happen, but it won't be. It'll be in a more like friend dynamic than anything, which is also fine. But yeah. Why go on these dates when it doesn't feel like anything is it? Just because she's doing it or something. I don't know. It's more or less something to kind of just experience. Because she's not going on, well, I guess she's going on dates, I guess, but she's not going on dates with different guys. She's going on dates like with her current boyfriend and whatnot. But no, I'm not doing it just because she's doing it. Just because if that was the case, like it was like 5 months? No. Yeah. I don't even know. I can't even remember when I but when I went on my dates in the beginning. But it's the fact that it took so long for me to actually go on those dates. Just because I was, it was more or less a distraction from just me overthinking everything and just kind of sitting at home doing nothing. More or less just collecting dust, being down and everything. But it's like the dates don't mean anything just because I'm not it's the fact that it's not that they don't mean anything just because I just go and I don't generally care. It's more like I'm just going, but I'm not looking for like a genuine like relationship with any one of them. I'm more or less looking for like friends and whatnot. Usually. Not even usually, but that's generally what the dates are for. Is they're just for that. Like, I'm cool with some of them, but some of the other ones wanted to actually date and everything, and that wasn't something that I was generally like looking for. So it's the fact that they went that direction, I went this direction, and that's how the story goes, really. But yeah, it's not because she's also doing it. But, are the people who are watching over her still doing it? If so, did you receive anything new? they don't usually, at least I told them not to really tell me every single detail that's going on. It's more or less if just something bad is going on, usually. And even then, if something bad is going on, then they send me basically a message, and then they kind of, depending on what it is that is going on, like either they step in or they kind of record like what is going on. So then when I do get there, they can show me what is actually happening. Just because I told them like she's a very tough woman. Like she's not a fragile, she's not fragile. At least physically, she's not fragile. Obviously, like if she wants to fight you, she will fight you. Like generally, but like I don't know. It more or less depends on what it is. But yeah, I never told them to because obviously they have their own lives as well. I just kind of mentioned like, hey, just kind of, look after, her and her son, just kind of, you know, if it's important, or if you think it's important, if you think it's important and it's something that I should know, then, let me know. But that's pretty much it. Like I never told them to, not have, but I never told them to give me a report on everything, every month or something. Like I need a report on what's going on or whatever. Like what if it's it's just it's whatever. Like if you think it's important, let me know. If not, maybe if it's not important enough to message me about it or call me about it, but you think it's important, definitely document it. The date, the time, whatever it is, and then just kind of keep that. Kind of keep a spreadsheet of that, basically. But yeah, it's just more or less that whole thing. Do you know why you and her would open up to each other and see it as an attack on each other or something like that? No, not really. Even to this day, I never really understood why I see it as an attack, or why I saw it as an attack. Even when it was happening, I never really understood it. Because I was just I don't really know why I would get irritated and annoyed at her about whatever it was she said. I have no idea. I want to I want to say I want to say it was more or less because I want to say it was because I had a lot of I had a very big ego, so I didn't like when people actually questioned stuff about me. Not even me, but question stuff about my character and whatnot. Now it doesn't. Now it doesn't matter. I could care less. But at that time, it was just it was something I just did not like at all. just simply because I thought I knew everything. I thought I was a know-it-all, basically. Like, I knew everything when obviously I didn't. I can only imagine it was probably the same thing for her at that time. Yeah, I can only imagine it was the same thing on her side. At least that's more or less a guess. I don't really know. Just because she did the same thing, obviously. But I don't know. There was just a disconnect because we never like actually, like I said before, like we never really like heard each other. Like it was like we heard what the person was saying, but we didn't process it in like a good way. We processed it in like we processed it as an attack on us, or as like we processed it as an attack on like our character and whatnot. But that's the only thing I really think about for that whole thing. And then the final question. Why the fuck are people asking you sexual questions about you and her? Personally, don't know. Couldn't tell you. Like, I generally don't know. Just because it's weird, at least to me. Like, the only thing I can really say is, the only thing I kind of came up with was like, either her friends like have my YouTube and they asked those questions, or someone that knew her asked her questions just to paint me as like a person that was just a super piece of shit. But I personally don't really know what that whole thing was really about. Just because there was a lot of them, which I don't necessarily know why there were as many as there were. But hey, I don't know. I don't plan on answering those kind of questions just because why would I? That's just weird. To that's just weird. Just to me personally, that's just a very weird thing to ask somebody. But yeah, I have no idea. Oh yeah. Now that I think about it, well, now I think about it, I paused the whatchamacallit just so that I could whatchamacallit because I'm live as well. So I wanted to see because someone had said that there was another question, and I completely forgot it. But it was the one I had gotten on TikTok. It was. This is actually the last question. And then I'll get into the unsent message that I was talking about in the beginning. But the question was, do you feel down when you talk about her as much as you do? She did leave after all. At times, I was in the beginning, yes, because I was very, like, at the time it was, I was more or less reminiscing of everything, and kind of playing everything back in my head, and then, eventually, like basically I would talk about it, and then when that live would end, I would then think about everything. I would think about our whole relationship, and then I would snap out of it and come back to reality. And obviously where I'm at now. Obviously, at least back then it was not good, but it was more of that. But like back then, yes. Now, not really. I still do. I still do. Um, I still do feel down sometimes. At least compared to before, it's a lot better than it was, of course. But it's at least not as much than it was previously. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know, there's just, to me, there's a lot to say. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to say. There's a lot of stuff that, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff to say about her that I genuinely liked. And still do. And so on and so forth. So, you know, it's just one of those, things. But I digress. It is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, at times it does. At times I do feel down after talking about her as much as I do. But at the same time, I don't know. At the same time, I don't really know. I don't really know. Because I guess everyone sees it differently, I will say. Some people find it weird. Some people find it, what? I would say someone had said inspiring at some point. A lot of different ones. A lot of different people. A lot of different opinions. A lot of different views on it. So, but yeah, it's a roller coaster. But it's the fact that I do it to myself. I do it to myself. So it's not like it really, you know, matters really. But yeah, I want to say that was all of the questions. Now it's time to get into this. Now it's time to get into this oh god. What that was. Now it's time to get into this unread message. Okay. The unread message is, I'll never be able to forget you
I'll never be able to forget you, and to me, nobody deserves to be with you, but me, who was there when you got fill in the blank. Not even, you know what? We're just gonna go from the top. I'll never be able to forget you. I'll never be able to forget you. To me, nobody deserves to be with you but me. Nobody deserves to be with you but me. Who was there when you got SA'd? I was. I wanted him dead, and I still do, but you needed me, so I was there. Who blamed themselves when you went to that party and got SA'd? I did, because I could have begged you more to stay. All the dark things that have happened to you. You'll never forget all the dark things that have happened to you. I'll never forget. The difference between them and I is they heard about it. They heard about it, but I lived it. The nights you couldn't sleep because you were afraid. When you told me that you get SA'd often, that the police didn't believe you because you were numb to it, because it had happened so much. And so much more. It sucks that I get seen as a monster when I was there to help you through all of that. And the kicker is if you saw this, it wouldn't matter to you because you found your new man who makes you happy. Well, I made you happy too, and not just you, but your son. Everything. I was there for everything I was there for. Well, now I get to see another man live the life I was working for. A man who didn't have to earn it, he just got a fast pass. There'll never be a man who deserves you but me. But you've made it clear that what I think doesn't matter. That was, yeah. Basically, it's just a lot. I typed this, I don't remember when. I want to say it was like Thursday, Friday, something like that. But it was the fact of, from this entire thing, I've always been calm about it. It's the fact that when everything first happened with the whole spiral and everything, is the fact that this is what I thought of, just because it is genuinely true. Because it's the fact that the stuff that happened, I won't be able to forget, because it's just basically it's basically been burned into my psyche, basically. Like, hearing how she sounded, seeing her face, you know. In the beginning it was hard because it was like she didn't want me to see how, like, she didn't want me to see how, like, broken she was. And eventually she did tell me, like, why. Because it's the fact that she didn't want, like, it's the fact that she genuinely, in the beginning, she genuinely, like, liked me much. With the fact that she didn't want me to leave because of how, like, basically how broken she was. And, like, how that was basically the norm for her and everything. And it's the fact that, like, I've tried to think back, and I've even told myself before, like, I should have just left. But it's the fact of, I genuinely couldn't. Not because of anything in particular, but it was just because I genuinely, I liked her like this is like the same amount that she liked me. I liked her in the same amount back. Like it was the thing that we had in common. Like we loved each other the same. We loved each other the same. So it's the fact that I stayed, but it's the fact of, like, it's more or less me thinking about would I have still stayed if this was going to be the outcome. And I've thought about it so much because I don't know. I generally don't. But I feel like back then, if I was told that, I don't think I would believe it. Just because of just simply for how much we loved each other. Because even to this day, I still don't believe that she doesn't love and care for me. She probably doesn't, I don't know. But, I don't know, it's just, back then, back then in the beginning, it was different. It was just like, it was a love that you just never, it's a love you don't really think about until you actually take the time to actually, like, step back and actually, like, genuinely think about it. And think of, like, like that was it was a different kind of love. It was one that we could both be ourselves. But it's like, if I went back in time and told my past self that this was going to be the outcome of us, I don't think I would genuinely believe myself. Just because it was good. I'm not gonna say it was always good, because our relationship was real, because at least to me, it had its bad moments. It had its bumps. It had its caverns, its cliffs. It had the bad. It had the bad in it, which is something I don't think many people really talk about. But they always talk about, like, the good, but, like, no one really talks about the bad that happens as well. It's good to have a relationship that's, it's good to have a relationship that is, good majority of the time, obviously. But it's the fact of, like, it's the fact that you're gonna have arguments, you're gonna have fights, like, you're gonna have all these things. Like, there's something that's just going to happen. And it's not because you don't love the person, it's not because you don't care for the person, but it's just because you both aren't the same person. So you're gonna think of different things differently. Like, you're one, yes, but you're not a hive mind. You don't think the exact same way. Like, obviously on some things you might think the same way on certain things, but you're not going to think the same way on everything. Sorry, I had to pause it again. I took a drink of my water and it went down the wrong way. I don't think you wanted to hear me cough a bunch. But yeah, it's something that's just going to happen. like any like it's like people are so immersed in the perfect relationship, but it's like, what is the perfect relationship? Like you could ask 100 people. Even I've done it. I've asked, but not, it wasn't 100 people, obviously, but it was. I went to the mall and I asked like 100, not 100. Damn, I just said it wasn't 100. Obviously, it wouldn't be 100 because I'm not trying to talk to 100 different people. But I want to say it was like either 5 or 10 people, and I had asked them like, what, like to you, what is like what is a perfect relationship? Obviously, I didn't ask couples just because obviously they probably would say something differently, but I asked more or less people I saw that were single, and I asked them like, what to you, what is a perfect relationship? And I got a bunch of different answers from all 5 or 10 people. Like I will say there were probably 1 or 2 that were pretty much the same, but they were worded differently. But I can understand where they were coming from like what they were saying. But it's like that's how it is. Like each person has their own vision of perfect, and it's more or less, you have some people that just, when they're in a relationship, they are basically a dictator. They want to control everything, every aspect of whatever goes on, because of their like perfect, or at least what they see as perfect. But it's not. It really isn't. But it's hard to forget. Like I've asked my therapist that. Like my therapist knows this whole thing. Just because it was something I had to get out at some point. Because I kept thinking about it over and over and over again. Until eventually I had to write it or say it or something. But even my therapist is having an interesting time trying to get me to kind of like find peace with it, or like forget about it or something. But it's like it's hard to do, because going through all of that, you would think was going through all of that, you would think we were gonna go far and whatnot, and it's the fact that we almost did. We really did. But it's the fact that we stopped at the halfway point. The halfway point being, in a relationship, and then from there, starting your married life and whatnot. But it's hard. It's definitely hard to forget everything I just read. Like, it's one of those things where if you weren't actively there, you can't. If you weren't actively there, you can't say anything about it. But it's the fact of, I know for a fact that if she was to hear it, or she was to like read it, or do whatever the case may be, it's the fact that she would say something. She would basically dismiss it, or whatever the case may be. But it's like I went through all of that with her, and like with her son, like I was there when he started to crawl. I was there when he took his first steps. I was there when he said his first words. Obviously, some of those I was on the phone with her, obviously, but it's the fact that I was still there with, like, I still was like Like when he said his first words, I heard it, and then eventually when I went to go hang out with her, or when her and I went on a date, or when we did this or that, it's the fact that I was there to actually, you know, actually see it and everything. But it's like those are very important things, you know. Those are very, like, it's crazy because I never thought they'd be as important as I took them for. Because in the beginning, not even in the beginning, but just in general, I never understood, like, okay, the baby walked. Eventually, it's gonna have to walk eventually. Or, oh, the baby said its first words. Yeah, they're gonna have to talk eventually. Like, it's one of those things, like I said before, like, you don't understand it until you're actually, until it's actually, like, happening. Or until you actually have that, like, connection. But it's like to go through all of that, to feel all of that, and then to see all of that just go out the window and see someone else, basically seeing someone else replace me, it just sucks. And it's the fact that, like, I'm not saying, like literally, I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying all this like she's my property or something, because she's not, obviously. Like, that's life. Like, she's not my property at all. But it's just like, it's one of those things where, let me see something. I wrote something down about that whole thing. But hopefully I can find it. Hopefully. Where is it? Oh my god. Where the hell? I typed it and I don't know where it went. God damn it. Oh, actually, let me do this. Because I can, what you call it? I can, here it is. I want to say it came from, because I had watched an anime, and it had this quote in it. And I was just like, that is a very good way. But it basically says this: you belong to no one, you belong to no one, but there's a relationship only between us. It means nothing to other men. Anyone can fall in love with you, and they are free to ask you out. You should decide who you like more. If I'm not good enough, you can choose someone else. Obviously, I kind of tweaked it a bit because I didn't want it to be word for word. But it's basically just explaining, like, how, like, basically explaining that I don't own you. Like, you're your own person. Like, whatever you, like, your options, your choices are yours. Like, if you want to do this, then that is your choice to do that. But it's the fact that all choices have consequences. You know? Because that's how that works. Every action has a reaction. So, it's just, like, with me, like, typing all of what I typed, and me talking about everything now, like, it's not, like, at least what I typed, it came from a hurt place. And it's the fact that I was calm this entire time, but it's the fact that obviously those seeds of anger took root at some point and blossomed, because like that's insane to think. And then to be left guessing on and then to be left guessing about everything, being told this, this and this, but not being told this, and this, and then left wondering this and that and so on. It's just, oh my god. Like, you start to think back. You start to think back and you're just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, it's a headache, if I'm being genuinely honest. It really is. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to come off as like, because obviously I read what I read. I said what I said, obviously. But it's the fact of like, it's not coming from a place that's like, it's not coming from a place that's like, oh, she's, you know, like she's belongs to me. I have, you know, the right to her, because I don't. This isn't fucking the 1800s. And even if it was the 1800s, it would go a lot differently. Because obviously I'm black, so obviously it would go differently, go way differently. But yeah, it's just you know, frustration and just not being, like, I don't know, not seen, like, just not being, I don't know, appreciated, I guess. But it's like, be appreciated about what? Like, it's the fact that I helped and hurt at the same time. Like, that's, like, I don't, it's one of those things I think about where it's just like, nothing needs to be said, because of the fact that I helped, yeah, but I also hurt at the same time. So like, the thank you would probably be, I gave you extra time to fix yourself and you didn't. So I took action, and now we're where we're at. But I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't know, it's hard. If you definitely have, if you have any, I don't know, ideas, or if you have anything that you would think would help, me forget, I'm open to anything. Literally, I'm open to whatever it is that you got. Literally, there's nothing that's like off limits, just because I've tried like everything. Like, man, like there's so much that I've tried, and it just doesn't. But yeah, it's definitely just a lot. A lot to think about, a lot to process, a lot to go over. But I'm slowly getting better. It's the fact that not even getting better, but it's just more or less just getting. It's more or less just becoming. Can more or less just accepting it. Not. You know how deep be, basically. But yeah, it's pretty much the only thing I really got. I'll probably do these, like, when I get questions. I'll probably collect them, and then eventually I'll make a video talking about them. Unless you have a question that you genuinely would like to know, then definitely hop in the live stream on either TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube, either one, and ask me, and I'll definitely answer it, obviously. Obviously, no sexual questions between her and I, obviously, or when we were together, just because that's fucking weird, obviously. But if it's sexual questions for, like, towards me, like, what's my favorite position, or what's a kink that I like, or something like that, I guess. I don't know. Like, if it's something that's more directed towards me, then that's fine, obviously. But yeah. Oh yeah, if you have any questions, definitely let me know. Shoot me a message. If you want to know that, right, like, if you want to know that day or whenever, definitely hop into one of the lives. Obviously, get my attention, because I do play my game usually. If anything, it would probably be better to go to my Twitch, just because that pops up on my TV. So you have a better chance of actually getting my attention. But I do glance over to see the other chats that I do have. So it's more of a guaranteed way to get my attention, really. But yeah, that's about it. Hopefully y'all have a good week, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.